They demanded Earth's frailest warrior. Yet he appeared wearing a medic's patch, carrying the weight of 200 lives he had saved. Beginning. The arena was carved from stone older than stars, a colosseum floating in the void where thousands of species gathered to settle disputes not through diplomacy, but through combat trials. Empires lived and died on the outcomes of these duels, where warriors from rival civilizations fought beneath banners that glowed brighter than suns. Earth, young and small in galactic politics, had never been summoned to this place before. Humanity had ventured into the stars less than a century ago, stumbling like children into a galaxy teeming with predators. Yet now, we were called, challenged by the Tarkal Dominion, a warlike empire spanning 12 systems. The Tarkal Chancellor's voice had been transmitted across every human channel, dripping with disdain. "Send us your weakest soldier," he demanded. "Let us prove that even your strongest is nothing, for we will crush the least of you before the galaxy's eyes." It was meant as humiliation. The Dominion had slaughtered countless races, reducing proud civilizations to ash. To force Earth to sacrifice a warrior in this theater was both insult and inevitability. And so the Earth Council debated. Some argued we should refuse, risking war. Others said we should send a champion regardless, to prove strength. But the terms were clear. The Tarkal wanted our weakest, not our best. To break the rules meant immediate annihilation. In the end, Earth complied. Records were scoured, ranks compared, until finally one name emerged: Corporal Elias Rohn. A man who had never fired a weapon in anger. A medic. A soldier so thin and quiet that most forgot he was even enlisted. His physical scores were abysmal. His combat evaluations embarrassing. By every metric of traditional warfare, he was the weakest Earth had to offer. And yet, when his name was called, Elias Rohn stepped forward without protest. His uniform bore no stripes of valor, no scars of battle. Only the simple red medic's patch sewn at his shoulder. I was there as one of the few journalists permitted to record the event. And as Elias walked into that vast coliseum, the laughter of alien spectators shaking the walls, I could not help but wonder, were we offering up a lamb to slaughter, or was something hidden behind those calm gray eyes? Middle. The Tarkal warrior who awaited him was a monster of iron and flesh, General Korak, a beast who had bathed entire moons in blood. His body gleamed with armored plates, his arms ending in talons sharp enough to shear steel. Around his neck hung trophies, teeth, bones, and the still shining sigils of enemies long dead. The crowd roared as he raised his blade, a weapon taller than Elias himself. "This is your weakest?" Korak bellowed. "He will not last a breath." Elias bowed his head slightly. "Perhaps not," he said. His voice was quiet, but the arena amplifiers carried it to every corner. "But I did not come here to take lives." Confusion rippled through the audience. No warrior had ever dared enter the arena declaring peace. Korak snarled, charging forward with a roar that shook the ground. The strike should have cleaved Elias in two, but at the last moment, the medic dropped low, rolling aside with unexpected grace. He did not counterattack. He simply adjusted the strap of the medical kit at his side. "What game is this?" Korak growled, slashing again. "This is not a game," Elias answered calmly. "This is survival." The duel dragged on. Blow after blow rained down, but Elias did not fight back. Instead, he dodged, weaved, endured. His movements were not those of a warrior, but of someone who had spent years under fire, carrying the wounded from burning trenches, avoiding bullets not meant for him. The crowd's laughter turned to murmurs. Finally, Elias paused, hand brushing the patch on his arm. His gaze lifted to the audience, to the thousands of species watching. You asked for Earth's weakest soldier, he said. That is true. I am no warrior. I cannot match strength with strength. He touched his medical kit, scarred and worn from years of use. But this patch, this mark, it does not count victories in kills. It counts victories in lives saved. Gasps rippled through the stands. Elias's voice grew steadier. 200 times I have walked into fire and brought someone back. 200 men and women who would have died had I not been there. Some I carried across fields of plasma. Others I held together with my own hands until ships came. 200 lives. That is my tally. Not deaths. Saves. Even Korik hesitated, blade lowering slightly. His species valued conquest, but even they understood numbers. 200 saves was a feat unmatched by many generals. I am Earth's weakest, Elias continued, because I cannot take life easily. But I am Earth's strongest, because I will not let it be taken easily either. The silence was absolute. The entire Colosseum leaned forward as though struck by revelation. Then Korik roared, not in rage, but something like respect. He drove his blade into the ground, the impact echoing like thunder. This is no weakness, he said, his burning eyes fixed on Elias. This is strength my kind has never known. Ending. The trial should have ended in blood. Yet that day no death came. Instead, the alien overseers, bound by ancient law, declared the challenge complete. Earth's weakest had stood in the arena and had not been broken. But the greater victory was not in the rules. It was in the shift that followed. Across the galaxy, species who had dismissed humanity as fragile suddenly whispered of its paradox, a people who sent healers to war, who measured glory not in corpses, but in lives preserved. Elias Rohn returned to Earth a reluctant symbol. Statues were not raised of him wielding weapons, but of him kneeling with his medic's kit, shielding the wounded with his own body. Soldiers painted the red patch on their armor, no longer just a mark of medics, but of defiance. When asked why he had accepted the challenge, Elias's answer was simple. Because if the galaxy wished to see our weakest, then let them see the truth, that even our weakest will fight, not to destroy but to protect. That is humanity. Years later, when new threats rose and empires tested Earth again, it was not our fleets or our weapons that struck fear into them. It was the memory of a lone medic standing in the Colosseum, facing down death with nothing but his resolve and the knowledge of 200 souls carried on his shoulders. For in the end, strength is not always the arm that strikes, but the hand that heals. And the galaxy learned that Earth's frailest soldier was, in truth, the strongest of them all.